Hi friends, welcome to Book Talk. Have you ever visualized in life how India and Pakistan were together when they were not divided? How did India look then? Well, in this context, let me take you through a book by none other than Khushwant Singh. The title is Train to Pakistan. This is a historical novel by him, published in 1956. It recounts the partition of India in August 1947. Instead of purely depicting the political angle, the author has really gone deep into human dimension, and that brings out a sense of reality, horror, and even believability. In short, one gets to feel as if the soul of Khushwant Singh resides in this particular book. And the way he has described everything, even when it's a very short book, the detailing is immense, and it is a very intense and moving book. And no wonder it is a very popular novel which people love reading again and again. And for those of you who haven't read this particular novel, you have missed something in life. So please, for heaven's sake, read this particular book. Now, in this, the book starts with the summer of 1947, when the air is much more hotter than what India used to be, and during this weather, there is something looming large about partition, and the communal riots have started, and there are precipitated reports that there's going to be a Hindu India and a Muslim Pakistan. And within a few months only after this announcement, there is a massacre in which many people die. If I were to give you the statistics, which I'll give you, believe me, it's pathetic. It's moving as to why so many people during partition died. And the Muslims said the Hindus had planned these attacks and they had started the killing, whereas the Hindus say the Muslims were to be blamed. But I guess in the ultimate analysis, human beings are to be blamed in this particular massacre that had taken place in 1947. The worst time of India, I would call it. By the summer of 1947, within the creation of new state of Pakistan, when it was announced, there were about 10 million people, Muslims, Sikhs, Hindus, who were in flight. And by the time the monsoon had broken in, almost 1 million people had died. Such was the pathetic condition of India at that point in time, and especially in the northern part of India, north and northwest, you can say, which was up in arms. The only remaining oasis around that time were these small villages that lay in the frontier of India, and where there was an element of cordiality between Hindus and Muslims. And so these were a scatter of villages located in the frontier, and during these villages, during this period, Hindus and Sikhs and even Hindus, Sikhs and Muslims maintained a good amount of cordiality till the time they could do it. And amongst these villages, one village happened to be Mano Majra. Mano Majra is the name of the village where Khushwant Singh has picturized or written about around this. The story revolves around this particular village. It's a fictional village. As per the author, it was a tiny village with just 3 brick houses. It had a population of about some 70 families, and most of them were Sikhs and Muslims on equal numbers, and a little bit of that population was Qazi Christians. The 3 buildings that were made of bricks, one happened to be of the money lender who was the Nagar Seth or the Lala. His name was Ramlal, and the other 2 buildings were the Gurudwara of the Sikhs and the Masjid of the Muslims, or the Mosque of the Muslims. Most of the Muslims were tenants, and they tilled the land with the owner, and the owners of the land were mostly Sikhs, and they shared the output and the profits of the land. Mano Majra was located on the banks of Sutlej river. Sutlej is the biggest river of Punjab, and it was about half a mile on the northern bank of Sutlej, and it also had a railway station, a very vibrant kind of a railway station that used to pass from the trains used to come from Delhi and go to Lahore. So it was on that particular line, and not too many trains stopped in that particular station, but there were some slow passengers that did stop, and one happened to be Delhi Lahore that came in the morning, and one was Lahore Delhi that came in the evening. So these were the 2 trains, passenger nature, that used to stop in that particular station. So this relationship between Hindus and between Sikhs and Muslims carried on very well till 1947, when the entire environment started getting hot, and it was then that things started going wrong. Khushwant Singh has described all of this in great detail, and it appeared as if he had camped himself there and described each and every bit, including the foliage and including the birds, including the movement of the cows, the movement of the children, and everything is so well described in this particular book. One really gets to feel as if he had camped there or in some other village close by, and then he had written this particular story. So the main characters of this particular book are, let me give you their names and a little about their characters. So one was Jugat Singh, aka Jugia. Now he was the village Badmash. He was the son of a dacoit, and his father was hanged for crime, and he was very tall, heavily built, and just like a tough bull. And he was on probation there because he had just come out of the jail, and he was expected not to leave the village. He was supposed to be in station, and he was supposed to report to the village thana, or there was a thana, in a close by place where he was supposed to go and report every day. But he was having a very intense affair with a girl called Nooran. Now Nooran was a Muslim girl, and she happened to be the daughter of a blind person called Imam Baksh, who happened to be the mullah of the masjid, of the local masjid. And these two, they used to often meet in the fields in the night to quench their lust. The other important character in this novel is Hukum Chand. He is the magistrate and deputy commissioner of the district, virtually the king of the place. Now he visits Mano Majra, that has a very fascinating rest house. It's beautifully located and very close to the river, and it's got a quadrangle kind of a plot, and it's a flat roof structure, and very comfortable and very out of the blues kind of a rest house, where bureaucrats loved going and spending some time there. Either it was summers or winters. So Hukum Chand was there, of course with work, but even when he was there on duty, he ensured that he womanized, he drank and drenched himself with liquor, and that spoke of the rotten bureaucracy and feudalism of that particular time. Now this chap Hukum Chand, was so very calculative and manipulative that he had started from the lower rung, but he had risen up to the rank of deputy commissioner by pleasing his British officers. Then you had this sub-inspector who used to report to this particular deputy commissioner, Hukum Chand, who was a total chamcha, or a total, he was very obsequious, and he used to do whatever the magistrate used to tell him to do, so he never used his brains for anything. And then you had another character in this particular novel by the name of Iqbal, a young effeminate person who had just landed from Delhi, and his mission was unknown. Some people thought that he has come to create some trouble. Some people thought he is from some political party. He himself said that he is he's a communist, and he's educated abroad, and he is very learned, and he knows how to talk to Britishers. But the very name Iqbal could have meant either Iqbal Chand, a Hindu, Iqbal Singh, a Sikh, Iqbal Muhammad, a Muslim. So his name was totally taking people around circles as to what is his religion. And gradually Iqbal went to the Gurdwara as he landed, and he perched himself there, and he met Bhai Meet Singh, who made him comfortable. Bhai Meet Singh thought that he is a Sikh gentleman, so he was given a room, and he was made comfortable. But this particular person did not believe in eating their meal. He was carrying his own canned food, and he was carrying his own whiskey, which he was having there, and he was very critical of the system and the situation that was prevailing, where people were being killed, and he was totally unhappy about the whole scenario, and he thought politically he will be able to do something for his particular party. But then Iqbal had landed in Mano Majra just a day after this particular person, moneylender Ramlal, the only Hindu in town, was murdered by dacoits, and the police was vigorously investigating as to who had killed Ramlal, and suddenly they have nobody else to catch, but they zero in on Jugat Singh, Jugia, because he is the village badmash, and so they try and arrest him, and but Jugia tries to contest that, saying that why will I kill my own village people, and if I have to do a dacoity, I'll go to some other village and kill somebody else. So, but the police refuses to listen to anything, and simultaneously, because of the suspicious movements of Iqbal, even Iqbal is arrested at the behest of the magistrate. So both Iqbal and Jugia are brought in, and they are brought to the lockup, and they are left there. And Iqbal is extremely upset the way he is treated in this particular arrest, and he tells the sub-inspector, when I am released, I will make sure that I will make a big hue and cry about this. But meanwhile, Jugia and Iqbal appear to be too obvious to be the murderers. So what they do is, with the police then thinks that this probably they are not the targets, and we have made a mistake, got these two guys which we'll not be able to prove. So they go and arrest another dacoit by the name of Malli and his gang, and they are also brought in, and they are also put in the lockup. Now the situation is extremely tense and hot, and even though Mano Majra is a very, very peaceful place, but the rumors, the stories that are pouring in here are building a great amount of tension. And one fine day, there is a particular train that creeps into Mano Majra. Now, this particular train is when it comes, it is escorted by some army people. There are some jeeps that come along with it. There are trucks with some soldiers and from the Indian side, and they all come along and they kind of surround the entire railway station of Mano Majra. And people become very suspicious as to what has come in this train. Is it a kind of a funeral train? So all this feelings and misinformation is going out. Meanwhile, the army chaps, they tell the police to get wood and oil. So these police guys, they go to the local village into Mano Majra village and ask for oil, and they also ask for wood. So the villagers are clearly able to make out that it is perhaps required for cremation, and in the train there are only dead bodies which have come. So it is a very tense situation. So, but the villagers offer oil and wood generously, and the cremation takes place. People can see the billowing of the smoke from their rooftops, and with this, the situation was looking extremely grim and gruesome. But that was not all. After a couple of days, there was another train in which crept in very, very quietly, without any lights inside, nor the lights were there of the engine, and it did not make any rumbling, and quietly it sneaked into Mano Majra station, and again the same drill was enacted of cordoning off the entire station. But and there were trucks and jeeps and Sikh officers again who were completely at attention, and they were driving the whole thing, program, and no villagers were allowed to get inside. And finally there was an excavator that appeared, and it was very clear that it had come to dig a big pit where all these bodies that were lying inside the train were going to be buried. And exactly that happened. And but this could not be hidden. This was not hidden from the public of Mano Majra, and they immediately came to know that there is a second train in which bodies of Sikhs and Hindus have been brought, and they have been buried behind the station. So with this, one can understand how the people of Mano Majra must be feeling. And after this episode, the authorities decided that it is better to shift out all the Muslims from Mano Majra, because if there is another funeral train that enters Mano Majra, things are going to be in a big turmoil. And once the authorities thought about this particular point, they decided to move out all the Muslims out of Mano Majra. And just then, Nooran, she came to meet Jugat Singh's mother, and she told her that she's carrying Jogia's son, and she wants to be with her in life. But the mother was too arrogant. She threw her out of the house, and said, you please go to Pakistan only. And meanwhile, since all these three were released, that is Malli and his gang, and Jugat, and even Iqbal, Jugat immediately came home and discovered that Nooran had come home, but her mother had turned her out, and Malli was immediately asked by the authorities to take care of the properties of the Muslims who had left and gone to Pakistan, they were on the verge of being deported to Pakistan. Just then a Sikh leader emerged, and this Sikh leader perhaps had come from the Pakistan side, where he had seen his children being burnt alive, his women being raped, and his brothers being killed, and he had a great amount of fire in him, and he wanted to take revenge. And he came to the Gurudwara and he addressed all the people sitting there and said, "Ki this is what has happened with your brothers. Won't you like to take any revenge?" And gradually some 50 odd people, 50 odd Sikhs joined him, and they started making a plan how to take revenge from these Muslims. But Bhai Meet Singh, who was the Granthi of the Gurudwara, did not buy this argument of his, and he said, Guru Nanak has not told us to go on to such killings, and I am not with you in this. But the Sikh leader was adamant that he'll go ahead with his plans. So he took hold of those 50 Sikhs who had become volunteers, and he left that place, and he started planning how to take revenge. In the meanwhile, the Sikh leader even asked Malli, who had joined him, to go and ransack all these properties of Muslims and take away whatever he could and distribute it amongst other Hindus and Sikhs who are needy. Certainly after this, the scene changes, and the book is now nearing, is moving towards its end, and there is this gang of Sikh leader and his 50 plus odd people who go to the woods and plan out how a systematic program, and they certainly realize there is a train that is going to come from Punjab, some point in Punjab, and is going to cross Mano Majra, which happens to be the last station before Pakistan. And in that particular train, there's going to be a whole lot of these Muslims, both inside as well as sprawling on the top, on the roof of the train. So what they decide is that they go there in the night, and they tie a rope, a very thick rope, across the steel span, the first steel span of the bridge, thinking that with this particular rope, all the people sitting on the top of the train, on the roof, will get dislodged, and it will impact the train also, and the train might also get dislodged and may fall into the river, killing more people. And once these guys are dislodged from the train, all these armed people in their gang would go and do the killing of the Muslims. So this was the plan. But as the train was coming in the night, nothing was seen. The lights were very dim, and suddenly the Sikh leader saw that a person had climbed the steel span, and he had started, somebody was cutting the rope that they had tied across, and if that rope would have been cut, their entire plan would have gone for a toss. So he shouts at this guy that, "Who are you and what are you trying to do? Don't you see that the train is coming? You are going to get killed, so please come down immediately." But the guy, this hefty fellow, he is not bothered. He takes out his kripan and he starts cutting the rope. And meanwhile, the train is inching closer, and it is coming at a speed, and there is every likelihood that this particular person may get hit. So, but this hefty person is undeterred, and he finally manages to cut the rope. But before the rope is cut, the Sikh leader, he shoots at him, and he falls onto the track, and just then the train runs over him and rolls over to Pakistan. So friends, this is the end of the novel. The person who cut the rope and who fell and was run over by the train was no one else but Jugat Singh, who wanted to save his Muslim girlfriend from being killed. So that is the moral of the story. Killing cannot go on forever. It neither helps Hindus nor the Muslims. So there has to be somebody who should stop. And Jugat Singh, although he was a badmash of the village, he taught that lesson to the Sikh community and his own community, as well as passed on the message even to the Muslim community. So friends, this novel has been written extremely well. If you've not read, you've missed something in life, go pick it up today and read it immediately. It will take you back to that period of India. As I always say, books and movies are the best reflection of times. So friends, if you like this particular story, subscribe to our channel, press the button, subscribe button, and soon we'll come out with another story. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.